Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 3 of the PNTCC. We're heading to the east coast of the US on our final leg of the US tour, and we're heading to Watkins Glen International, and we will be driving the short inner loop circuit today. The short inner loop circuit contains 11 corners with only one real overtaking place, which is actually at T1 itself. The rest of the track is a very fast flowing complex of corners, providing interesting challenges for the WTCC cars with its understeer potentiality. But without further ado, let's get straight into the action in race 1. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Fasten your seatbelts. Let's get ready to go as we're on board with Galaxo. That's how I'm going to pronounce his name because it flows off the tongue. Flows off the tongue. And speaking of flows, everyone's got a nice steady start as we're here at round 3, race 1 at Watkins Glens, and everyone is very smooth into T1. We're on board with Galaxo, brand new to the PNTCC Season 2. Was a very late door knocker just before this event, about half an hour before this event, and he got in straight away and he fitted in beautifully. Wonderful driver. And he's currently under pressure by Mr. Evans. Geordie Evans sat right behind him as we come up to the pit stop chicane. Very tricky to get right in these touring cars. And as we can see, there we go. So the curb just threw him off. We can see, I think that's Letterme, another new driver in the background, running wide there as Jamski, who is now in the Lincoln Co. touring car with Geordie Evans. Both of those taking full advantage of Galaxo's mistake as Anders is right on the rear corner panel as we go on board of Anders. Going into turn 10 and turn 11. Fast sweeping corners. Very tricky to overtake here at Watkins Glens. It's all about the slip and being brave and putting your car in a position as I look to pull out, looking down the inside. Makes the corner way too tight. And ride too much curb, making it an awkward exit. So Galaxo gets a wonderful exit out of T1. And realistically, Galaxo and Anders don't want to battle. They need to stick together and try and gain on the cars in front, because that's the only way that they will gain anything more from this race. Is a very tricky circuit to overtake, especially the shorter circuit. So coming to the bus stop, but you can see the slip going into action there. You ride over the first right hand side of the curb. You kind of miss the third curb and ride over the fourth to get a nice smooth exit as Anders tries to look around the outside. Bit of a stupid move there, really. Lose all momentum and speed. Now Galaxo has got a nice little bit of a gap between as we go on board with Letterme, another brand new driver into the PNTCC Season 2. Welcome, Letterme. I hope you have a good race. Currently stuck behind Yogi in the ladders. The ladders really not liking Watkins Glen because of their really low top end speed. They are much better at tighter, twistier tracks. As we can see in the pits, Coulson. Yeah, Coulson's currently sat in the pits. What happened? So we go on board with Coulson. He's coming up to the bus stop chicane. He's let off very early there. And the car's just off balance, completely gone. Straight into the wall. That's an engine killer, That's an engine killer. Oh, so unlucky for Coulson. But he let off way too early. If your engine braking is set to quite high, you can really unstabilize the car when you lift off the power in these touring cars. Ironically, lifting off the power is not always your friend in the WTCC cars. As everyone's starting to get into a bit more rhythm, it also looks like that Jamski's made a position on Evans. Jamski to kind of split the two. Jamski's the one with the pink wing mirrors. As we're on the rear quarter panel of Jamski. Looking back at Evans here. Just go around T10. Taking a really nice smooth line there. It's amazing how smooth Jamski is, seeming as he's actually on a joypad. He hits the wall there on exit. So I wonder if that allows Evans to get a bit of a run, but it doesn't really look like it from this camera angle. Down T1, Evans getting a lot more speed, but his car's unsettled by hitting that curb. So it's going to affect his run, but he will get the slip at the top of the hill. You will get that slipstream. which will help gain those positions back. If you're within 7 tenths, 8 tenths at the maximum, you will get the slip around Watkins Glen, and slipstream in these cars are very fightable. As Letterby has got past Joggy, so that must have happened in sector 3 or sector 1 of the previous lap, and it looks like he's too much curb there. I'll tell you what, he's giving it the absolute beans though. He's giving it a real good go as the rear end is sliding out. Looks like a little bit of a handful. The other cars look a little bit more planted compared to Lithamy's car, which might be making a little bit of a difference here. As Jammer cuts that corner quite excessively. I wonder if he got a slowdown for that. Really, really cut the corner as Evans has taken full advantage of the poor exit from Jammer. It would have unstabilized his car. As Evans is bumper to bumper. There's clearly no team orders at Lincoln Co. As we go on board with Ernie for the first time today. We're 5 minutes in the race and we're only just getting on board with Ernie. Around this beautiful circuit, Watkins Glen. It's absolutely gorgeous. Really fun to race on. Great for if you're brand new to sim racing. Pretty basic, but it's also quite complicated in its own little way, especially in the braking zones like this one here at the bus stop. Braking around about the 300 meter board, yard board, whichever you like. Oh, Jordy Evans losing it a little bit there. Lost his rear end. It's a shame. He might have got a little bit unstable when he tapped the back of Jamski. As they come around turn 9, I think it is. Along the back straight. There's the exit of where you would do the international course, just there. Jamski turns into turn 10, into turn 11, and this is kind of what happens at Watkins Glen. If the cars get a little bit spread out, the racing tends to not really happen. There's not enough slow corners for people to catch back up on if someone struggles on the braking zones, for example, or anything like that. But you can see that Evans is giving it a real good go to beat his teammate, his technical new rival, in fact. And in the league, it's Anders, Jamski, and Evans currently fighting in the top 3 positions. So we'll see how that may change towards the at the end of race 2. But as we're coming up to the bus stop again, brake around that 300 meter board. Jamski's getting a lot there and loses the rear end. Evans gets a nice power slide through, and you can see that Galexo has really caught them up with the untidy driving, I would call it. It's definitely not the smoothest. Anders there in the background, just a spectator, just like race 1 in Sonoma. Just there, the ladder does not have the top speed, and seeming as he's out of the slip, he's not really going to gain on them unless they do something drastic. In fact, Anders goes... my accent came out then properly. Anders goes wide there as Jamski goes over the timing line once again. And we're on board with Galexo and the Cupra. Just getting a little bit of fresh air, getting out of the toe. Try and get a good exit out of T1 so you can power up the hill. And then get into the slip. And we go up the asses, up the hill. It's a lot steeper. The ladder really struggles in there. We'll be on board with Anders in possibly towards the end of this race, or even race 2. And you will hear the ladder struggle to get up that hill. It's just got really short gear sequences as Galexo's nailed that. Absolutely beautiful bus stop chicane there. Completely caught them up. It's in a really prime position to cause a bit of an upset here between the Lincoln Co drivers. The question is whether he gets the opportunity, because we've only got 1 minute 15 left on the clock, so there's only going to be one more lap after this one, because Bo, who is currently our race leader, who we haven't even gone on board with quite yet, is probably only just crossed over the start-finish line. As the drivers come over to get onto their final lap of the race. And speaking of our race leader, here he is, Bo Dixon. Had a pretty comfortable race 1. Most importantly as well is that he got P1 on qualifying, so he would have got those 5 extra points He's most likely going to get fastest lap, so he's going to get another 2.5 extra points on top. So Bo's going to get the maximum of 72 points, if my maths is correct. Across the oh no, that's if he won race 2 as well with the fastest lap. He'll get 72 points, which is the maximum you can get on any race evening. I'm not going to call it a weekend because we don't do it on a weekend. As Bo Dixon is coming up to T10 and T11, the final 2 corners of race 1. Beautiful, lovely and smooth driving there by Bo Dixon. And he crosses the line. And as we let's head back towards see what's happening in P2, and it's not changed. Jamski in second, Evans in third, Galaxo trying to push Evans for the line in P4. Anders in P5, rounding off the top 5 positions. Now, for some reason, the league system that we use does not have Galaxo in P4. As you can see, it's just skipped to 5. So you've got Bo Dixon with the fastest lap of 1:14.771. Jamski in second, Evans in third, Anders in fifth, Galaxo in fourth, sorry, Anders in fifth, Letter Me in sixth, Yogi in seventh, and Mark Coulson obviously DNF'd. So it's now time for race 2. And we're looking at Mark Coulson in front of the grid, followed by Yogi. And followed by Letterman, followed by Anders, followed by Galaxo, followed by Evans, then Jamski, and then Bo in last place because it's 4 reverse grid. So we all go into T1 and Yogi takes the lead out of T1. And we go on board of PNR Anders. And Coulson is not giving up that P1. He got a very good run. That's the thing with T1. You don't have to take the corner absolutely perfectly to still get a fairly decent run. Obviously it helps, but you don't need to, as Yogi is trying to chase down Coulson. The slip is real. We're all in a bit of a slip train. So we all go through the bus stop. Front 3 going through absolutely fine. Andy kind of dropping a gear too low there. Bit of wobbliness there for Yogi. And just running a little wide, but clipping back onto the apex. And speaking of wide, Coulson and Yogi have gone off. As we can now see, everyone's pushing quite heavily. Galaxo and Yogi's using this, probably had a slowdown by the looks of it. And Anders and Galaxo take full advantage of that. And we go around T11 for lap 1. Completed. And we're on board with Galaxo. Just lurking down the inside of Anders. Not going to go for it though. Oh, and Yogi has completely missed his braking point there. Completely missing it and taking out Galaxo in the process. Yogi has waited though, very gentlemanly of him. And who is that? That's a Lincoln co-driver. The Lincoln co-driver is having a go at Galaxo. Got the place is Jamski. Jamski must have had an off in lap 1. Completely ruining his first lap as we go back on board with Anders, who is attacking Coulson as they go through the bus stop chicane again for lap 2. Everyone kind of going here, there and everywhere really. Evans looking down the inside of Anders, but the gap's not really there. It never really was. And Bo Dixon's trying to look around the outside of Evans, which the door gets closed on him by Evans. And we're very early on in the race, and you can kind of see what kind of tone's already been set by the drivers. I think they're willing to be a little bit more aggressive in this race. They realised that race 1 was a little bit of a ceremony, shall we call it? A bit of a, yeah, not really quite sure how to describe it. A bit of a float ceremony. As we go over the timing line, Coulson still in first, Anders in second, Evans in third, and Bo Dixon in fourth, who must have got an incredible start. And everyone's gone a bit wide there. Evans has gone to the inside, Anders into the middle, Coulson to the outside, went 3 abreast, now 2 abreast in chicane. Coulson's not giving it up though. And Coulson keeps hold of the lead. So coming down to the back straight, up to the bus stop for the 3rd time. Evans cheekily looking down the inside. Not sure he's really going to go anywhere. Coulson clips it. Oh, he's taking too much. Way too much. Hopefully that's not an engine killer. No, it's not an engine killer. That's good. As oh, Anders is going up into P1. Anders into P1 after going side by side with Evans. Bo Dixon's looking for a bite to eat by the looks of it. He's right up the rear bumper of Evans. As now it's a top 3 instead of a top 4. What a shame for Coulson. Pretty much exactly the same error that happened in race 1 has happened again in race 2. As Anders clips the wall on exit, making him probably a little bit slow. Goes immediately defensive. Evans gone back onto the racing line, probably looking to do an undercut. But Anders is carrying enough speed to defuse said undercut. As all 3 drivers now are going up through the S's. The uphill S's. The Lada really struggles with that, and you can really see that the Lincoln Co and the Cupra are just all over the back of that Lada. Anders parking his car in the middle of the road. Just gives him enough of an angle. Oh my god, Evans has really lost the line there. Meaning Bo gets a very easy second place. Probably not what Anders wanted. He probably wanted Evans to stay behind him for a little bit longer, but que sera. As we go on board with Bo Dixon. Bo is heavily pushing Anders right now. Giving him a bit of room. Bo carrying a lot more speed through turn 10. We can clearly see that the Lada is not the quickest around this circuit. It just doesn't seem to have the grip or the top speed. As Anders goes slightly defensive in a way. It's giving Bo enough room on the table, but on the track, sorry, not on the table. It's giving Bo enough room on the outside, but Bo's just not biting. Seems to be playing this time. Seems to be giving Andy a little bit of help there up the hill. But you can see the Lada's just changed up gear way before the Cupra. So the gearing in the Lada is a lot shorter. As Bo gives Anders a bit of a kiss. Does Anders make the chicane because of it? He does, but that Lada is looking a little bit off balance. You can see the weight moving around in that Lada. You can really see the suspension having to work. It's looking very soft. Probably helps a little bit, but it's putting a lot of pressure on them tyres. Probably cooking those tyres a little bit too much. His Bo didn't even shift up then. He was in 5th gear. Didn't even shift up to 6th. And as we go around T11, and just kind of parking his car in exactly the same spot as before, knowing that the other side of him is going to be a bit too narrow, and just quickly shuffles back onto the racing line to try and take T1 as quick as he can. Rides the curb. Bo's gone down the inside, so we go up the S's side by side. The Cupra should have the legs, but it's having to do the long way round. It's only just got the inside line now, and it's got the inside line into the bus stop. Bander's being quite smart there, just not allowing Bo any more room than what he actually has. And we go into the bus stop too wide. Both cars, Evans completely cuts the first part of the bus stop, but amazingly Anders and Bo make it through that bus stop unscathed. That was really good driving by both drivers to make sure that they don't take each other out. As we come up to T10. Now the sound system in the game said turn 9, they were wrong, now it's turn 10. As Bo looks down the inside of T11 and essentially isn't getting much of a run out. He's a little bit too close to Anders right now. He almost needs to give himself maybe a 2 or 3 tenth gap to be able to utilise the legs on that Cupra. As all 3 drivers, nose to bumper, nose to tail, all going up through the S's. For what is most likely the second to last time, looking at the fact that there's only 2 minutes left on the clock. As Evans pushes Anders through, giving Evans second place. Bo's being hung out to dry there. Amazing decision there by Evans. Brilliant tactical decisioning right there. So Evans now in P2 with 1 minute and 40 left to go. Everyone makes it through the chicane pretty well. And just closing the door on Evans. Just to make sure he can't get the inside line. Bo Dixon, however, is looking around the outside line. He's getting the slip of Anders. He's doing exactly the same thing to Geordie Evans, that Geordie Evans just did to him. Turn into T10. Has Bo got it? Bo has got it. Nothing that Evans could do there. It seems to be all about the slip pass at the moment. And Bo has got the room. Like I mentioned, he needed 2 or 3 attempts just to get that room. And look at those Cupra's legs run. They are pedaling away. There's nothing Anders can do about that. There is just no pace. And there you go. Just beautifully slots back in. There is just nothing Andy could do there in the ladder. And with less than a minute to go, Anders putting in all that effort to keep his P1, but the slip, remember, is real, even for the ladder. But it probably doesn't have the legs. As we go into the bus stop for the final time. And there's just nothing there that Anders can do there to get P1. Unless Bo makes some horrific mistake, which, let's be honest folks, he probably won't do. As we're looking back at Evans anyway, to see if Evans has got any challenge with 5 seconds left on the clock. So we go into T10. And Evans gets a nice line and good exit. But he's just not close enough to do anything against Anders in the ladder. Nope. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That is your race 2. Bo Dixon getting the victory, with Anders sitting in second, Evans in third, Galaxo making an amazing recovery drive to finish in 4th place, Jamski in 5th, Yogi in 6th, Coulson in 7th, and Letterme in 8th position. So what does that mean for the top of the table? It means that Geordie Evans has moved up into P1 with 172.5 points. Anders falls down to P2 with 171.5. Jamski in 3rd with 164. Bo in 4th with 144 points for his perfect weekends. He has not lost a race yet. Yogi moves up into 5th position with 129 points. Mark Coulson in 6th with 80 points. Sadly, because of the DNFs, he has dropped down some points. Connor Max has pulled out of the league, which is a shame because he was destined for top 5, even possibly top 3 become the end of the season. Galazzo, who is brand new to the season, starts off his seasonal points with 52, which is a brilliant return. Rabamus missing this week due to fatherly duties, understandably, and Letterme with his first race weekend, or race night rather, leaving or bringing 37 points to the table. Again, a very positive start. So if you have enjoyed the content, please make sure that you leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in 2 weeks time after we have our summer break and we'll be racing in Europe, and especially at the home of British motorsport, Silverstone. Till then, look after yourself and goodbye.